Why read? I mean, like, seriously, what's the point? We survived millennia as a species without knowing how to read, right? I mean, there's a documentary on pretty much anything I've ever wanted to learn, right? An AI can convert words into audio and video, so there's like no need for books anymore. Right? Wrong. Well, kind of. Reading is important for 3 reasons, and probably many more, but I'm just gonna talk about 3. There is a reason why humanity decided to take language and write it down so that they could continue their culture. Think about the ancient Kingdom of Kush in Africa. It was a place where Greeks and Romans came to share knowledge and study the world. And guess how they learned? With books and scrolls and words that were written down. And then Kush was destroyed, and guess what happened next? Humanity suffered because written knowledge was destroyed. Now let's bring that into modern terms. Let's say the internet stopped working tomorrow. How weak would humanity be initially? How strong would we have to be to persevere through that catastrophe? Would we utilize our reading skills more to re-figure out how to do things? I know I would need a refresher on how to prepare my land for max fertility as I plant my crops to, survive. So reading is important because recorded history helps us pass down lessons so that we can survive. Reason number 2 why reading is important is because it communicates learning in ways that experiential learning cannot. Have you ever had an idea or feeling that was so clear to you, but you simply could not put it into words? Imagine living thousands of years ago when humans were first developing language and having to explain what a narwhal was, or how, even today, it's nearly impossible to express things like how it feels to be forgiven, or how lucky you feel to have a best friend or a loved one. Stories that are written by talented authors can put these feelings into words indirectly. This is known as an inference. An inference is a secret message that every story has that can only be understood between the lines. The author won't come out directly and say it. The reader will feel it, understand it, and comprehend it completely. Author Gary Schmidt of the Wednesday Wars said it best when I interviewed him on this idea.
What advice do you have for young people today, in particular when it comes to reading, when it comes to life in general?
It's the advice that Henry David Thoreau gives at the end of Walden. And he tells a story of a table that's in an old farmhouse, and the farmer and his wife it sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? The farmer and his wife are sitting at the table, and they suddenly hear something gnawing inside the table, and they can't understand it because they put a warm kettle on it, just by chance. And so they pull the kettle off, and they see this something is boring from outside. I'm sorry, from inside the table out. And as they watch, it's a beetle, this beautiful blue beetle that is boring out from the table. That table was made about 100 years earlier. The larvae for that beetle has been in there for 100 years and has now been warmed by that kettle and has now come alive. And it comes out of the table, spins around the room, and then flies out the window and is out into the woods. And he says, Thoreau says something like, whose heart is not enlarged by that? Can we too hope that someday I won't get it right, but the warmth of our new life will wake us up and we will become reborn into a whole new understanding. That's what I think we need to really be thinking of these days. I mean, how is it that we can help our students wake up? Because all the noise, all the bright lights, all the AI, all that stuff, that's not to wake us up. I mean, who would imagine that? It's to put you to sleep. So how do you, against all of that, wake up? And conversations within your classes, that's waking up. Then taking a new book that you never imagined and falling in love with it, that's waking up.
Reading is important because it helps us wake up. Stories move our souls in ways no other experience can. If you don't like reading, you've never read a book that forces you to wake up. And reason number 3 why reading is necessary is actually a fusion of reasons 1 and 2, and it is called theme. When authors start clacking away at their keyboards, their number 1 goal is to tell a good story. It's the same thing your grandpa tries to do when you're gathered around the dinner table, or that your teacher tries to do when they go off script from the lesson, or your best friend when they try to tell you about their weekend. So what makes a good story different from a bad story? Well, a good story has tension, a sense that the character might not make it, and obstacles to overcome. A bad story has a clear path to victory with no resistance whatsoever. A good story has friends and enemies that push one another to do things that they find uncomfortable but necessary. A bad story has only agreeable characters that only do what the main character wants. A good story ramps up the stakes with high emotions, huge rewards, and constant unknowns that keep us coming back for more. A bad story has no feeling and an ending that we could see a mile away. Are you noticing what I'm doing here? A good story tells the reader how to live a life of adventure, of risk, of intentional purpose, of perseverance. In other words, it teaches us themes that when we adapt them to our own lives, we will be able to find meaning and worth to the lives that we lead. It's true. Even though the word fiction means false, stories teach us the deepest truths about ourselves and about the world so that we can truly live. That's theme. So when you read a story, themes are the building blocks the author uses not only to entertain you, but to teach you to wake up from your normal everyday life. The themes are the secret messages that urge you to battle your dragons, to become the hero of your story, and to live the adventure that life was meant to be. Every book has a theme, and that theme is meant to teach you something about yourself and about the world. Now go and read and discover those truths, those secret messages in every book you read.